Welcome to Elevated, a place where the mystical meets the everyday. I am Dawn, a stay-at-home mom to a wild and spirited boy, and a guide in the realms of Reiki, Akashic Records, natural healing, and soulful living. Here, we'll talk energy, intuition, spirituality, but also the realness of motherhood, wellness, and creating balance in the chaos of it all. So grab your tea, take a deep breath, and join me as we explore healing, alignment, and the beauty of both the magical and the messy. Welcome to Elevated. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to the Elevated podcast. I am Dawn. How are you doing today? I am doing okay. It has been a week. I will definitely say that. My son ended up getting pink eye probably 2 days ago, and I didn't notice it until yesterday. So we went to the doctor, only our doctor moved. We don't go to the doctor very often, so I didn't know that they moved a year ago. And I walked into the building that was normally our doctor, and they don't take walk-ins anymore. So 2 doors down, there was another doctor's office. I walked in there. Turns out that's where our doctor was, so we got to see our doctor at least, so that was really good. He gave my son an ointment for his eye, for pink eye, so it was in the left eye first, and then today it spread to his right eye simply because he was crying so hard that he kept wiping his tears, and then he would use the same hand for both eyes. But he's doing really well. I have to give him credit. He is only 3.5, and he's doing really well not touching his eyes. If he touches his eyes at all, he goes and he washes his hands. He hates the ointment. He does not like any water getting on his face. And so, of course, when you're going to give him the ointment, you have to wash his eyes first to make sure that they're clean and then put the ointment on. And he hates that part of it. And he is taking a little bit of Benadryl right now just to help his eyes not water, because yesterday they were watering so bad. And I'm not one to give medication to my son. I hate giving it to him. But in this case, I was like, he can't keep living with his eyes watering so bad and me telling him not to touch his eyes. It was just a scene. So we gave him Benadryl last night and this morning, and then just before bed tonight. Hopefully by Friday, it's all cleared up. I had to cancel his hair appointment today. My husband took my son's appointment, which was good. But then I had to book my son in for Friday to get his hair cut, because on Saturday, he's going to go meet Santa and Mrs. Claus. He's going to have a cookie and hot chocolate with Santa and listen to Mrs. Claus read a book. And then on Sunday, he gets to go and have his pictures taken with Santa and Mrs. Claus in front of a candy shop. So magical. He's so obsessed with Santa this year. It's going to be so magical. But we just have to get over this pink eye first. I am crossing my fingers. I am praying that we can get through this and he can have a great time on Saturday and Sunday with Santa and Mrs. Claus, and the pictures will turn out beautiful. I'm just praying to the universe that everything works out the way that it should. That is my life in a nutshell right now. But what I want to talk about today is about Remembrance Day. So if you've noticed, I actually put my podcast out on Remembrance Day. Usually I do it on Wednesdays. But because of the nature of this podcast and because today is Remembrance Day, I thought it'd be really, really great to put it out today. Today's episode is one of reverence, one of reflection, and one of collective healing. We're gathering to honor Remembrance Day, a day that transcends time and space, and a day when we pause to remember the courage, the sacrifice, and the spirit of those who have served and continue to serve. But today, we'll be looking at Remembrance Day not only through a historical lens, but through the spiritual lens of the soul's journey, through the Akashic Records and energy healing through Reiki. As we begin, let's set an intention for today. So our intention is, may all souls who have known war find peace. May our hearts awaken compassion, and may remembrance become a doorway to healing. Remembrance Day, observed on November 11th, marks the armistice signed at the end of the First World War, 1918, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. 111. The guns fell silent, and for the first time in over 4 years, a deep and fragile peace began to settle over a world forever changed. The air that once echoed with chaos now held a sacred stillness, a collective exhaled from humanity itself. Originally known as Armistice, it was created to honor those who had fought and fallen in the Great War, a conflict so vast and devastating it was believed to be the war to end all wars. But as history unfolded, the day grew in meaning. It evolved to encompass not just the soldiers of World War I, but all who have served in wars and peacekeeping missions since World War II, to Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, and countless other missions around the world. Each name, each face, each soul remembered on this day tells a story of courage, sacrifice, and humanity behind every soldier, were families who waited with hope and fear, children who grew up too soon, and communities who carried both the grief of loss and determination to rebuild. The ripples of those experiences continue through generations, carried quietly in our collective memory and even in our own DNA. And I'm just going to sidetrack for a second. I have had for years, ever since I was probably 10, 11, this crazy fear of a sniper wanting to shoot me. So when I was 10, we moved out into the country and we had patio doors that went out to our backyard. And from our backyard, there was a massive green space, then a gravel road, and then a farmer's field. And for whatever reason, when I was 10 or 11, I had this, and I still do because I live out in the country and we have a valley and then a highway and then a farmer's field. This crazy feeling that there was a sniper out there by the gravel road waiting to shoot me. I don't know what it is. It must be from a past life. And then where we're living now, because we have 12 acres and it's very flat where we are, we're on top of the valley. We're at the start of a really long lake. We have about a 70-kilometer lake. So we're at the start of the lake. And every spring we have planes that fly so low. They're barely flying above our house. And they're circling right around our house. So literally, I can be sitting on my back deck and they're right there. And they're circling around my house into our horse fence yard. They're going across the road into our neighbors, down the valley. And what they're doing is they're water bombers. So they're picking up the water and they're dropping the water. That's what they're doing. They're learning how to do this. They're practicing. But before I knew it was the water bombers, and even knowing it now, I have this insane fear. I don't want to be outside. I don't want them to see me. I just want to hide. I want to find a bunker and hide, almost like I was bombed in a war. So I don't know if I was part of World War I, World War II, if I was before the war. I don't know, but these are two memories, I guess, that are living in my DNA, that I'm going to say, that I have no reason in this lifetime to fear a warplane or to fear a sniper. I live in Saskatchewan, Canada. Pretty much no one even knows we exist. We're not that important. Nobody really cares about us. So why do I have this thought of being sniped? And why do I have this thought of being bombed? It's got to be from a past life. It just has to be. So when I say that it's a collective memory and it's even in our own DNA, it's in my DNA, I believe, for sure. And even if you weren't a part of the war, it's still a part of our DNA. It's a part of our ancestry. It's a part of our lineage and our generational lineage. So it is in our DNA. Okay, we're done sidetracking. We'll go back now. The poppy, which we know and symbolize with remembrance first bloomed on the sacred battlefields of Flanders Field, where blood and soil became one. Amid devastation, the poppy's crimson petals returned, nature's quiet act of resilience and renewal. From the depths of destruction, life found a way to bloom again. It became a living symbol of remembrance, courage, and the internal cycle of death and rebirth. I always see and think of poppies as that. I think of how they would be in Flanders Field just growing and growing, and the land, I believe, would have been so destroyed and destructive, and to have these beautiful poppies grow is unbelievable. And this year was the first year where we planted in my flower bed just wildflowers, and part of it is poppies. And after a while, I pulled out all my wildflowers. They were all dying. I pulled them out, and lo and behold, this fall, my poppies were regrowing. And right now, we don't have snow yet, which is crazy because it's early November, but I still have poppies that have flowered in my flower bed. And it's just so beautiful. And it's such a beautiful remembrance of people that sacrificed their lives for us. Spirituality on Remembrance Day transcends history. It becomes a portal of collective consciousness, a sacred moment where the veils between past and present, they're thin. It invites humanity to pause, to reflect not only on the wars fought, but on the inner wars still waged within the human spirit. It calls us to honor the lessons etched into the fabric of time, the lessons of compassion, unity, forgiveness, and peace. When the world is still at 11 o'clock a.m., it is more than a moment of silence. It is a vibration of remembrance that moves through time and space. It is an invitation for the soul to listen, to feel the cost of freedom, to remember the fragility of peace, to remember peace, and to recommit not just nations, but as individuals, to creating a world where remembrance becomes not only a reflection of loss, but a promise of love. And that's what I feel when I have that moment of silence. I don't know if you've ever been able to be a part of a big ceremony on Remembrance Day, but sometimes we would go to our local hockey rink, basically, in our city, which is right by the armory, and we would be taking part of the ceremony, and it is so moving. There is so much power in that ceremony. It is something that I can't even really describe. It's beautiful, to be honest with you. It's very, very beautiful. Majority of my uncles, which would have been 7 of them, I believe, all went to war. I believe it was World War II. And then my biological father served in the army, and I was born in Winnipeg because he was transferred to Winnipeg to be a part of the military there. And I don't know the years or anything, but within my first couple of years, I think within my first year, I had moved to Cornwallis, Nova Scotia to be on the army base there. And my mom said that she would sit me and my brother out on the back step, and the snowbirds, which is the Canadian version of the Blue Angels, would come and they would do their performance all the time. And they were practicing there, and it was beautiful. Even now, as an adult, when I see the snowbirds, there's this calming peace in me. So I must have loved it as a child. I must have sat there and watched it and just absorbed what I was seeing. And it's something obviously within my subconscious now. And my mom was also part of the military as well. My mom and biological father split. And I remember when the war, I believe it probably was the Gulf War, but the war with Kuwait, when that was coming, what was it, late 80s? It was before the 90s. Maybe it was right around 90, something like that. I remember being worried that my mom was going to be called to go to war. If it turned into a world war, my mom might have been called to go because she had been out of military, but she had enough years of service that if they needed her, they could have called on her. And I remember just being so worried, like what was going to happen to my brother? What was going to happen to me? Who's going to take care of us? Were we going to have to go live with my grandma? Like all these questions were going through my head if my mom got called to war. And I remember being at my friend's house and her mom was watching the news. She was a single mom as well. And she was watching the news. And I was too young to understand or know. But I just remember worrying that my mom was going to have to go. And I was praying, even though I didn't really know what prayer was at that time. Like, I think I was only like maybe 7, 8. But I remember praying that my mom wasn't going to have to go. So it's, to me, important to remember those who had gone and who had fought, who had gone, and some didn't come home. Some lost their lives there. Families lost sons, even daughters. They lost husbands. They lost brothers, uncles, grandparents. It's real. And it's something, sometimes I think maybe the new generation maybe doesn't have to think so much, especially being in Canada. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to worry about it as much. Like, we don't go to war often. Our military isn't going out as much. And it's something that maybe we don't have to think so much about, but it's something to take and reflect on and really think about. So before I go any further, before I get into the spiritual meaning of remembrance, I just want to thank all veterans who have gone in any one of our wars and fought for us. I want to thank the families of all people that have gone and fought wars. I want you to know that I love you all and I thank you. I thank you for allowing me to be able to grow up the way that I have and to have the freedom and the safety that I have. I thank you for always making my country safe for me. I appreciate that beyond any measure or any word. And I thank anyone who has any part of the military, whether if you are the cook, if you are the carpenter, if you are the front line, if you are the nurse, whatever it might be. I thank you so very much for being a part of that. And again, keeping my country safe so I can live a free life and a safe life. So thank you. Remembrance is not only about looking back. It's about remembering who we are as souls. Beyond history and the ceremony, remembrance becomes a sacred invitation, a calling back to the essence of our shared humanity. It is a time to awaken to the truth that we are not separate beings scattered through time and space, but threads of one great cosmic tapestry, each soul woven with intention, each life contributing to the evolution of the whole. When we pause to remember, we are not simply honoring the fallen, we are touching the timelessness. We are acknowledging that love, courage, and compassion are eternal forces that never fade, even when bodies perish and nations change. In its deepest sense, to remember means to remember, to gather the fragments of the human spirit that have been torn apart by trauma, violence, and separation. To remember is to bring the members, the parts of humanity's greatest body back together again. It is the mending of the soul's fabric after it has been frayed by fear and forgetfulness. When we hold remembrance in our hearts, we are calling home the parts of ourselves and of humanity that have been scattered. The mother who lost her son, the soldier who never returned, the nurse who carried silent grief, the civilians whose stories were never told. We are calling home the innocence that was lost when the world learned the cost of war. War, every conflict, every act of violence leaves behind an energetic imprint in the collective field, an echo that continues to vibrate through generations. These echoes are made of both shadow and light, grief and courage, despair and hope, pain and perseverance. You can feel these impacts in old battlefields where the air still hums with memory, or in families who carry the unspoken weight of ancestors who served or suffered. A granddaughter who never met her grandfather may still carry his anxiety or restlessness in her nervous system. A child born long after a war may have dreams of places they've never been, echoes of past lives, of past life service, or inherited memory. Just like I said, right? The planes flying over, the sniper. Even nations carry this energetic residue. The soul remembers. The land holds vibration. The collective psyche of humanity carries the charge of centuries, not only of war, but of the healing that followed. So, just a side note, when we're doing property clearings, one of the types of land that there could be is battlefield land, which means that it could be either way back in history when we're looking at first coming into countries and taking over land, or even when you're looking at places of war, that could be for battlefield land as well. When we engage in remembrance, we're not only looking back, we are participating in energetic repair. Through our awareness, we can lift the vibration of memory itself, sending love, forgiveness, and light back through the corridors of time. When we remember, we do not simply recall events, we participate in healing across timelines. Imagine for a moment a candle being lit in the present, its light traveling backward through the darkness of history. This single flame touches moments of deep pain, a trench, a hospital ward, a letter never returned, and illuminates them with compassion. Energy knows no time. Love travels in all directions through prayer, meditation, Reiki, or even quiet reflection. We can direct healing energy towards those moments. We can visualize the souls of soldiers finding rest, the grieving families receiving comfort, the earth itself releasing the trauma held within its field. This is how remembrance becomes a spiritual act of service. It is not passive, it is active, powerful, and sacred. To remember is to become a bridge, a living conduit between past and future, the seen and the unseen, the living and the departed. When we open our hearts in remembrance, we extend compassion beyond time. We say to the souls who came before, we see you. We honor your journey. Your suffering was not in vain. We carry your lessons forward in love. This is soul alchemy, the transformation of pain into wisdom and of memory into light. By doing this, we not only heal them, we heal ourselves. Because in truth, there is no them. There is only us. And the healing of one heals the whole. The souls who chose to serve, whether on the battlefield, in the hospitals, in factories, or in silent prayer, did so as part of sacred contracts, not as punishment. It's not karmic retribution, but as volunteers in the evolution of consciousness. Some souls chose to experience the density of war to help humanity understand the shadow side of power, to reveal what happens when fear and control override compassion. Others came to anchor frequencies of love and courage in the midst of chaos. A nurse tending to the wounded in a muddy trench may have been a healer soul, returning lifetime after lifetime to hold light in the darkest places. A soldier who fell in battle may have carried the vibration of protection and loyalty, ensuring that others may live. Even those who committed harm may have been playing the role of a mirror, helping humanity confront its own unhealed shadow. Each one, in their own way, contributed to the awakening of collective empathy. Before we come to earth, when we are in the soul realm, that's just what I'm going to call it whatever you want, the ether, the other realm, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it, it is up to you. That is perfectly fine. Before we come to earth, we write a contract. We sit down and we basically plan what is going to happen in our life. We plan on who we are going to meet, who our parents are, who our siblings are, who our pets are, who our friends are, who our teachers are, who our coworkers are, who we're just going to pass on the street. We plan pretty much most of every single detail. And we have contracts in which we are coming into this life with. Now, we do have free will, so we can definitely change things up. And we, for the most part, have an agenda, if you will, of what we want to come into this earth and do. So soldiers, nurses, factory workers, whoever was involved, they all pre-wrote this in their contract. They were the ones that were coming to earth to awaken us. Dolores Cannon wrote a book called The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. I have not read this book, but I saw a post about it. And I believe one of the waves, if I remember correctly from the post, was that we had the first wave of people coming in to help awaken the collective was the ones that went to war, the ones that were a part of it. And then there's a wave 2, and then there's the wave 3, which is our new children coming in now. So the souls that came in that were a part of the war, they decided that they were going to come and do this for the collective. When we open our hearts on Remembrance Day, we are not just only honoring what once was, we are assisting in what still is. We are participating in the ongoing healing of the world. We're participating in helping the collective. We're participating in healing the world and moving from dark into light. We need the duality. We need to see the dark in order to move to the light. Every candle lit, every moment of silence observed, every tear shed with compassion, these become prayers woven into the fabric of creation. They help lift the vibration of humanity just a little higher. We are reminded that no act of love, no sacrifice, and no soul service ever goes unseen in the eyes of spirit. Each gesture of remembrance becomes a ripple that touches the unseen realms, whispering to all who have passed, you are remembered, you are loved, you are free. And in that sacred exchange, we too are freed from illusion of separation, freed from the weight of inherited sorrow, freed to walk forward with hearts open and spirits clear. To remember is to reconnect with love, with purpose, with one another. It is how the human spirit rises again and again, each time choosing light over darkness, compassion over fear, unity over division. Every year, as the poppies bloom red against the gray November sky, we are reminded that from the ashes, life returns. That even when the world is broken, the soul endures. That love is the one force strong enough to transcend time, war, and death itself. Remembrance, then, is not the closing of a chapter, but the turning of a page. It is humanity whispering, we remember who we are. We are love, we are light, and we are one. You can do Reiki for those who serve. So Reiki is a universal life force energy. It is a powerful ally for veterans, survivors, and all who carry the unseen weight of war, even generations later. War doesn't just truly end when the guns fall silent. Wouldn't it be nice if it did, though? But it doesn't. Its echoes linger in the nervous system of those who fought, in the hearts of those who waited, and in the energetic field of humanity itself. Long after the physical wounds have healed, the subtle body, the aurora, the chakras, the energetic pathways still hum with the vibrations of survival, of fear, and loss. This is where Reiki steps forward, not just as a cure, but as a sacred companion on the path to remembrance and restoration. Reiki is unconditional life energy, the very current of creation that flows through all beings. It carries no judgment, no force, only intelligence, love, and divine neutrality. When channeled with intention, Reiki gently restores balance to what has been disordered, harmony to what has been fractured, and peace to what has been forgotten. The lingering energy of war imprints itself on levels of being. In the body, it manifests as tension, hypervigilance, and exhaustion. The body's survival mechanism is unable to shut down. In the mind, it appears as nightmares, anxiety, flashbacks, and survivor's guilt. The mind looping in cycles of what was and what might have been. In the emotional body, it can feel like numbness, guilt, anger, or despair. Emotions too vast to process in a single lifetime. And in the energetic body, the auroric field, and the chakra system, war leaves subtle disturbances like ripples that distort the natural flow of life force. Consider a veteran who jumps at every loud sound, their nervous system locked in perpetual alert, or a widow who still feels the presence of her loved one in her dreams decades later, her heart tethered between the physical and the spirit worlds, or even a grandchild born generations after, carrying unexplained anxiety or reoccurring dreams of battlefields they've never seen. These are not coincidences. These are energetic inheritance, fragments of unresolved collective memory. And through Reiki, these vibrations can be soothed, harmonized, and gently transformed. Reiki works by restoring energetic balance, allowing life force to flow freely where trauma once constricted it. As a practitioner channels Reiki, the energy moves through the body's natural intelligence to the areas most needed, whether physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. For veterans and trauma survivors, Reiki reduces anxiety, hyperarousal, and PTSD symptoms by calming the sympathetic nervous system and inviting the body into rest and repair. Restores a sense of safety within the body, helping individuals feel grounded, present, and connected to life again. Reconnect the individual to their spiritual center, awakening a sense of meaning and belonging that may have been lost in the chaos of war. Soothe survivors' guilt and grief, bringing light to places burdened by shame or loss. Forgiveness of self or others, support forgiveness of self, of others, and of the past. In Reiki, healing is never forced. It unfolds gently at the soul's own pace. Every session is a remembrance of peace, of safety, of the innate wholeness that trauma cannot erase. Imagine a soldier who served overseas returning home but unable to sleep. Their body is back in the present, but their energy remains in the past, half stuck in memories of explosions and loss. During a Reiki session, they lie on the table and the practitioner's hands hovering softly over their heart and solar plexus. At first, the energy trembles, the vibration of defense. Then, as Reiki flows, something shifts. The breath deepens, the jaw releases, the shoulders lower, tears may come, or simply silence. The energy begins to move again, releasing, unwinding, remembering peace. Later, they describe it not as being healed, but as being unburdened. Reiki doesn't erase the memories, it helped them find a home for them within the body that can once again feel safe, within a soul that can once again feel light. The reach of Reiki extends beyond time and space. When offered with the intention of remembrance, Reiki energy does not stop at the edge of the present moment. It ripples backwards and forward, transcending linear time. Practitioners can channel Reiki to past events, not to rewrite history, but to heal the energetic residue of it by sending love into the collective memory of a battle or to the souls of those who suffered. Reiki helps release the density still held in these energetic layers. For instance, one might send Reiki to the fields of Flanders, Normandy, or Vimy Ridge, visualizing golden light infusing the land where so much blood was shed. The energy is not about erasing what happened, but about honoring and transforming its frequency so that the vibration of fear and death becomes one of peace and release. This same principle applies to ancestral healing. A descendant of a soldier may receive Reiki and feel a deep emotional release without knowing why. Often, they are unconsciously clearing energetic imprints carried through their lineage, patterns of grief, silence, or sacrifice that has been waiting to be seen and loved free. When Reiki is offered with the intention of remembrance, it becomes a bridge between worlds. It serves both the living and the departed, reaching across the veil to offer peace to souls still tethered by trauma or unfinished emotions. In this sacred space, Reiki practitioners become light barriers for the collective soul, not only assisting individuals, but contributing to the healing of humanity's shared energy field. Each time Reiki is offered to a veteran, a survivor, or a memory of war, a small ripple of peace expands outward, reaching unseen realms. And in this way, Reiki becomes more than a healing art. It becomes a prayer in motion, a remembrance that even in the darkest moments of human history, the light of spirit never left us. It simply waited patiently for us to remember. To practice Reiki in the context of remembrance is to participate in the evolution of consciousness itself. It is to say, we chose healing over forgetting. We chose compassion over indifference. We chose to transform pain into peace. Every hand that channels Reiki, every intention of love sent across time becomes part of this sacred movement, an energetic chorus calling humanity home to itself. Through Reiki, we can help release the vibration of war, not just from bodies, but from the collective soul of Earth. And in its place, we anchor something new, a frequency of peace, the remembrance of unity, the knowing that love is stronger than fear. The Akashic Records is an infinite vibrational library of all souls' experiences. War is not merely a chapter in human history, it is an energetic event that reverberates through the multidimensional layers of existence. Each thought, each act, and emotion during wartime imprinted as a frequency within this field, shaping the soul's evolution across time and space. From this divine perspective, no one who participates in war, soldier, civilian, leader, healer, or bystander, does so by accident. Each soul enters each experience with sacred intent. Though the human mind may struggle to perceive the purpose in such immense suffering, the Akashic field, however, sees beyond polarity. It records not the judgment of good or evil, but the vibration of choice, emotion, and the soul's intention to understand life in all its constructs. A soldier who once took a life may in another lifetime dedicate their existence to saving lives. A healer may once have been a warrior who learned the significance of peace through the weight of loss. The Akashic Records do not condemn, they illuminate. They show that even in war, the soul is seeking to know love more completely. Every soul involved in war engages with specific spiritual lessons. These lessons are rarely about the act itself, but about the vibration underneath it: courage, fear, obedience, compassion, loyalty, or redemption. Through these experiences, souls explore the boundaries between separation and unity, power and surrender, death and renewal. Some examples of soul lessons: courage in the face of fear. For example, a young soldier on the battlefield may learn not only physical bravery, but the courage to trust their intuition, to act with integrity amidst chaos, and to choose compassion in impossible situations. That vibration of courage becomes a golden thread carried into future lives, perhaps manifesting as a nurse who stands firm in crisis, or a parent who loves unconditionally through hardship. Another example, the power of unity and brotherhood. In the trenches, soldiers often describe feeling a profound connection that transcends individuality, a brotherhood beyond race, rank, or creed. This unity is a reflection of divine consciousness breaking through human separation. The soul may later carry this memory into a life devoted to community, activism, or teaching unity consciousness. Another example is understanding obedience and free will. A commander or follower in war learns the delicate dance between duty and personal truth. Some may follow orders that conflict with conscience, creating karmic imprints of moral conflict. In future lives, they may wrestle with authority, leadership, or authenticity, drawn to experiences that teach them how to balance service with sovereignty. Another example is healing ancestral patterns of violence. Many wars are the outer expressions of unresolved ancestral karma. A soul may incarnate within a lineage bound by centuries of conquest or colonization to finally bring peace to that thread. Whether through art, healing, or diplomacy, this becomes the energetic thread across generations. Another example would be compassion through shared suffering. A civilian who loses everything in war learns compassion in its purest form, not as pity, but as shared humanity. The vibration of empathy, once born in grief, may become the seed of great wisdom and kindness in later incarnations. From the Akashic lens, war becomes a mirror of the collective soul's attempt to awaken from the illusion of separation that fuels all conflict. Each role during war carries a distinct energetic signature, shaping karmic pathways across timelines. For example, a soldier's energy often bears the vibration of duty, courage, and suppressed emotion. Many carry the grief of having survived when others did not, known as soul survivor's guilt. In subsequent lifetimes, this may manifest as chronic heart chakra heaviness, restlessness, an aversion to confrontation. So the healing path of this is learning that peace is not found through battle, but through self-forgiveness and integration. They often become protectors, teachers, or advocates for peace. If you are a commander or leader, those who lead others into war hold karmic weight around power and moral responsibility. They may return with deep fears of harming others or resistance to authority, a subconscious attempt to atone for misuse of power. So the healing path of this is transforming leadership from control into stewardship, leading with heart, wisdom, rather than ego. A civilian who experiences displacement, loss, or persecution carries imprints of insecurity within their root chakra. Example, a soul who perished by a bombing may incarnate centuries later with unexplained panic during storms or fireworks. So the healing path would be grounding, safety, and trust work, reconnecting with the earth as a place of stability and nourishment. The healer in wartime absorbed collective grief, often developing soul patterns of over responsibility. So the healing path of this would be learning divine detachment to allow energy to move through them rather than from them. In later lives, they often teach others how to balance compassion with self-care. And we have the land and ancestral spirits. The earth itself remembers. Blood, fear, and grief imprint upon the ley lines and energetic grids. In the Akashic field, land can become a living record of trauma. This is why some places feel heavy or sorrowful, even centuries after battle. So the healing path would be rituals of land clearing, offering and rebalancing, returning peace to the soil and to the spirits that linger there. War is rarely the story of one soul. It is a collective karmic weaving. Soul families often reincarnate together to play out both sides of polarity, oppressor and oppressed, recuser and victim, destroyer and restorer. Through these alternating roles, they come to understand that no side is separate from the other, that all are expressions of the one source. For example, two souls who once met as enemies on the battlefield might return in another life as healer and patient, or parent and child, drawn together by the magnetic field of unfinished karmic energy seeking harmony. When healing occurs between even two such souls, that reconciliation ripples across the entire web of their shared soul group, softening centuries of pain. A person carrying unresolved war karma may experience unexplainable fear of authority, weapons, or loud noises, vivid dreams of battle or loss, deep compassion for refugees, veterans, or those displaced by conflict, an unrelenting drive for peace, justice, or humanitarian causes, a chronic feeling of vigilance or waiting for danger, ancestral silence surrounding war, or generational patterns of stoicism. These are echoes of the Akashic memory surfacing for acknowledgement and healing. If you were to go through the Akashic records, an Akashic records session, one could trace the root of the karmic wound, identifying which lifetime it arose in, what choices were made, and what lessons remain incomplete. The record keepers offer non-judgment, but insight and compassion, showing the soul that it was never forsaken, only learning through contrast. With Reiki and energy work, the Reiki channels universal light through the energy field, dissolving emotional residue from trauma. Heart chakra for grief, forgiveness, compassion, solar plex for power, integrity, and control, root chakra for grounding and feeling safe again in the body and on earth. And then there's ancestral and land healing. So ceremonies that honor the spirits of places, offerings of water or light, and Reiki-infused prayers can release ancestral griefs still woven into the land's vibration. As the earth heals, so do its people. And then there's forgiveness and compassion practices. Forgiveness is the alchemy of karma, not the denial of harm, but the release of its energetic grip. When one's soul forgives, even in meditation, that act of grace ripples backwards and forwards through generation. And then there's integration and service. The final step is living differently, embodying peace. Many who heal war karma feel called to humanitarian work, energy healing, or environmental restoration. Through their practices, they anchor a frequency of peace that extends beyond words. Once the soul integrates the karmic lessons of war, it often becomes the beacon of peace. These souls, once soldiers or victims or leaders, return as teachers, healers, and visionaries. Their deep empathy becomes their medicine. They carry within them the silent knowing that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the mastery of compassion amongst it. They are the ones who remind humanity that what we heal within, we heal for all. The soul doesn't seek to erase the past, it seeks to alchemize it into wisdom. In the Akashic records, no act of war is wasted in meaning. Each wound, when brought into the light of understanding, becomes a portal to higher consciousness. Through remembrance, forgiveness, and love, the collective vibration of humanity rises, transforming pain into purpose, fear into wisdom, and separation into unity. When we approach war through the Akashic lens, we do not glorify it, we redeem it, returning even the darkest human experience back into the embrace of divine light. So in closing, the soul does not seek to erase the past, it seeks to alchemize it into wisdom. In the Akashic records, no act of war is wasted. Each wound, when brought into light of understanding, becomes a portal of higher consciousness. Through remembrance, through forgiveness and love, the collective vibration of humanity rises, transforming pain into purpose, fear into wisdom, and separation into unity. When we approach war through the Akashic lens, we do not glorify it, we redeem it, returning even the darkest human experience back into the embrace of divine light. I just want to say thank you so very much for being here today and for listening to this podcast on remembrance. I feel like it was just needed. I feel like maybe when we do remember, we don't know all that's going on behind the scenes through the Akashics or through Reiki. And I do feel that the world does need to know that we are helping the collective more and more every time we do remember. I do want to do a meditation. However, I'm just going to do the meditation as a separate podcast so that you don't have to physically come back to this podcast and try and find it. It'll just be easier if I do it separately. Before I let you go though, I do want to say again, thank you so very much for being here. I truly appreciate you being here. I truly appreciate when you like, comment, share, rate, and review on my podcast. It is helping me. I'm super, super excited. I have done 11 podcasts now, and it's such a synchronicity because I did not mean for this podcast to come out today on 11/11, and this is my 11th podcast. I was actually originally planning on doing this podcast last week, so it would have been out before Remembrance Day. But if you listen to last week's podcast, you know that I just needed to get some stuff out of my brain and just have a discussion, do a solo episode basically. And then today when I came in to do my recording and I went to put it in my podcast folder, I was like, you have to be kidding me that I am going to be releasing this a day sooner. So I chose to release it on Tuesday instead of Wednesday simply because it's about remembrance and Tuesday is Remembrance Day. So it's 11/11 and it's my 11th podcast. It was such synchronicities, just blows my mind. I love it. So I just want to say thank you, universe, for that. And again, thank you so very much for being here and for listening, for rating, for reviewing, for liking, for sharing, for getting my podcast out to other people. I truly appreciate that. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you.